But I have biases. And I have biases that I don't see, I don't understand, I don't know about, and I will never see, understand, or know about. I will never be in touch with them because they're deep in my subconscious. And so that's what implicit bias is. And so the conversation right now with the Starbucks situation is like, why'd they call, we need to look at this. Like, why are you calling the police on some people and not other people? Like, what's going on here? Let me walk you through implicit bias. This is bias you can't see, you don't recognize it, you don't understand it. It doesn't seem as though it matters. But what we're seeing is that it actually really does matter. So half of you saw educated with that, the ones in the front. And the ones in the back saw ignorant. You think, okay, cool, educated, ignorant, it just goes in. It doesn't even pay attention, because all you're being asked to do is look at the face. Focus on the face. But there's this word right here, educated, ignorant. Next slide. So, what we know is that if you looked at the slide with the word educated, you're much more likely to pick out one of these folks down on the right, lighter skin. If you looked at the slide with the word ignorant, and we could do this lots of different ways, you're much more likely to have gone in the other direction and remembered that face. So in the Starbucks case, hardly anybody is ever racist in the pure sense of the term. I can guarantee that the manager of that Starbucks did not see two black men and say, you know what? I don't like black men. I just let the white guys use the restroom who didn't buy anything, and I just turn the other way because I like white guys or whatever. I tolerate white people, whatever the case is. But black people, nah, they don't fit with the KKK readings that I do and all the neo-Nazi publications and all my racism stuff. I just don't like black people, and so I'm going to discriminate against them. That's not how it went down. It's almost never how it goes down. How it comes down is, in that moment, I'm going to make a decision about, wait, these two people are doing something wrong. These two people are violating something. These two people are trespassing. Something's going on. And I respond in a way that's different than it would be for these two people over here who are of a different background. It could be two men versus two women. It could be two gay women versus two straight women. Could be disabled people and not disabled people. It could be any number of things. But in this case, we're talking about what probably, almost certainly went down at that Starbucks store. And that manager at the Starbucks store is a perfectly fine person, just like any one of us in here, trying to do the right thing, trying to do the right job, trying to be fair to everybody, almost guaranteed that's how that person is. And yet they respond in this other way. They may also have called the police on white people. Maybe the day before they called the police on white people. Maybe they usually call the police on white people, and maybe they usually turn the other way when it's dark-skinned people. Maybe. That's also a possibility. But what we see again and again and again when we control for all the factors and forces regarding bias is that there is this bias inside of people that leads them to treat some people differently than other people. And generally speaking, in our society, the darker the skin, the more likely you are to be treated negatively. I don't know the story. I don't know who that person is, the manager of Starbucks. I have no idea. I don't need to know, because that story, I'll never get the answer to that story, but I will get the answer to some other stories. So let me show you some data about implicit bias and why this matters to people. Some of us, to all of us, but some of us in the room, it matters more so than others. Do you remember this one? Dude, where we did a resume, and we got a white guy and a black guy, and then later we redid it with a white guy and a Latino guy. and we made them exactly the same, and they went in with their resume and they applied for jobs, and they were exactly the same. They walked the same, they talked the same, they dressed alike, they shook hands in the same way. Everything was exactly the same. And the resume only varied on one thing. Sometimes the white guy had a resume that said he had a felony drug conviction, and sometimes the black guy had the resume with a felony drug conviction. And they really just wanted to see, would they treat them the same? The resumes were exactly the same. They were the same. Everything was exactly the same. Okay, we got that? So, all right, next slide. So what we see is the most desirable applicant is going to be, dude, this thing needs batteries. The most desirable applicant is going to be the white guy without a record. Okay, are we cool on that? You got it? Do you understand? You remember this? You got it? Okay, the white guy without a record. Who's the second most desirable applicant? Is it going to be the black guy without a record or the white guy without a record? And if you remember this from the race mixing piece, go ahead. In the next slide, it is the white guy with a felony drug conviction. All things the same. They'll choose him with a felony drug conviction over him. They're the exact same people, y'all, right? Exactly the same. And so what we say, what we all say, what your parents say, what your grandparents say, what society says, what every damn one of you is going to say when you get out into the job market is you're going to choose the best person for the job. And I'm here to tell you the implicit bias data is saying that's not what's happening. Your parents aren't doing it. Your uncles aren't doing it. Your aunts aren't doing it. Your grandparents aren't doing it. Your neighbors aren't doing it. The nicest person you know who is the most anti-racist is still got implicit bias, and they're not doing it. Because everywhere we look, we see this stuff, that this guy will get treated differently than this guy, even by the nicest people, even by black and brown people. Doesn't matter. It's going to happen. And so, they would choose this dude with the felony drug conviction over him. Come on, y'all, right? Dude, do you understand? Can you go back to the Starbucks, to that photo? Do you understand why these people are outside of Starbucks? Do you get that? If this was me, think about my passion. Think about Bossum being here. Think about all the things we do. If this was me, and I saw this stuff, and I knew this stuff, and lots of black and brown people in this class see and know this stuff, those people know it, they live it, and I'd be pissed. I'd be pissed. And then we got like white people sitting around going like, but I don't know, like maybe it's really not like that, or I don't know, you can't really know, or do you see how unfair that is? Do you fundamentally see how unfair? So do you understand in this case, when they're exactly the same, and they went in for the interview, and they shook hands the same way, they looked in the eyes in the same way, everything was the same, everything. Do you understand what makes you think that the manager at Starbucks didn't respond to the black people, to these two black guys differently than she would with a couple of white guys? Why would we even effing imagine that in a million years? When we control the situation, we see that people don't treat people fairly. And you know what this means, y'all? This means that white people, you have a definitive advantage over black and brown people. And we see it with women as well. Men, you have a definite advantage over women. Because, why? Because this skin color, me and Mike right here, we got affirmative action on our side. Because of that right there, dudes. All you do is you hear like, oh yeah, there's these scholarships for black guys and black women and disabled people and blah, blah, blah. Dude, please, your whole effing life, you will have advantages. Your whole life you will have advantages. Look at that. Those are serious numbers, man. Those are serious numbers. Is there any white person in this class that would be like, nah, it's cool, dog. I'd go through my life as a dark-skinned person. It's cool. It's all right. No.